Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining me again. We got another Rethink Solution coming at you. And on the docket for today is the problem with our food chain. Right now, we've got balls of meat being handed out of windows, and you're getting them in minutes, and it's fast and cheap, but we're so removed from where that food's coming from. I've had so many people on our podcast talking about how our food chain, to the toothpaste, to the hair gel, to the deodorant, it's all compromised. And, we can't address it all at once. So the main focal point today is going to be food. But if we're going to be under the understanding that all of these things are compromised, they're negatively impacting our health in all these different ways, we got to start educating ourselves on where these things are coming from. So right now we've got all this genetically modified foods. You've got Monsanto, who's monopolized agriculture. We have no natural seeds essentially anymore. And food is made to last on shelves and not to promote your gut biome. So I'm really glad that my good friend and co-host on this thing, Jon Astacio, is the master in these types of conversations. So he could kind of take the guiding light on how we first approach this problem of the food chain problem. I don't know. John, where do we go?
It's a problem. We have to say it clear, right? No.
Ouch.
I'm kidding. No. It's a tongue twister. I mean, like the food crisis, trying to figure out what's going on, where is it coming from? Should I grow it in my backyard? Do you even have a backyard? What do you got to do to make your own food? I want to just order it. What is it? We've become a society that is instant gratification, and the gratification is not going to be that instant anymore, and is going to be hyperinflated. I think eggs just doubled in price over this past year, and if you like your huevos with your bacon, you're going to be paying a pretty penny. Some people say that it's going to get up to $12 per dozen as a potential price, which is nuts to even think about it. But to your point, as far as like the food crisis, and like, first of all, the food that we get is just bad. It's coming from either overseas, across the country, and it's being plucked early. And when you pluck things early, it doesn't have all the nutrition in it, because now you're just getting prematurely I'm lacking the word other than pluck, but if something's growing, right, and you want to wait till it's finished growing so you can get everything that it has to provide. But these things are being like bananas, right? How many times you go to the grocery store and it's like green, right? And it's not really supposed to be like that. And and then also too, I think I heard that if you get a banana and it starts to freckle and the stem is still green, that means it was artificially ripened. Bad move.
Ugh.
Bad move. But I'm getting into the weeds there.
That was good to learn.
Yeah. But have you heard of Victory Gardens?
No.
So Victory Gardens, I did a little research, but Victory Gardens came about when in World War I and II, where I'll just read it. It's growing food at home because we want to prepare for the possible threat of food shortages. And that was because during the war times, they thought, just kind of like what's going on right now overseas, our support systems and where we get food from, they're just shutting down production. They're not shipping out because they have to, focus on the war effort. And so the people, your local community, is picking up the potential slack of that food production. And I like the idea of, now, if you've gone on YouTube, and maybe it's just my algorithm, the whole echo chamber, but I see a lot of like how to grow food from home, how to grow food in an urban environment. And so these Victory Gardens are coming up again, but I don't think anybody's using the term Victory Gardens because no one's thinking the US is in danger as much. And the people that are aware of it, they might not want to, they might feel weird talking about it, because it could be another like toilet paper scenario where people just shoot for the grocery store. But yeah, that a good solution for the upcoming food crisis and shortages is to learn how to grow your own stuff.
That's a great point. You know what's interesting is the question, and this kind of goes to show why it's beautiful to have different perspectives. When you bring up a food crisis, my brain immediately went to just the slew of issues we have with our food chain itself. Like Europe, you're saying we're getting all this food from Europe. Europe won't even take our eggs. So, like, I think if we had the conversation, we're like, yeah, listen, they're pushing candies and Doritos way too much, and we're eating crap food. We all go, yeah, we know, but I love the nuggets. So, like, we just keep going and we understand that's the bad stuff. But then when we go, but have a good day, like, do good today. And we go, okay, lettuce and eggs. But our lettuce is compromised, Monsanto seeds. When we get all our stuff from Europe. Europe won't even take our eggs. That should be the bread and butter, easy, healthy stuff of our life, of our community, eggs. And they won't even take our eggs because we bleach them. We bleach our eggs because you, the chubby American that loves their fingers covered in orange dust, won't eat a brown egg. So they bleach them for us. That can't be good for you. My buddy used to work at the local Marks, and was a butcher for the meat spot. Okay. He's like, you don't want meat at these grocery stores. I'm telling you, when they don't buy them at the end of the day, we take them in the back and pump them full of red blood juice to make it so it's not brown tomorrow.
Nasty.
And then the next day it's brown again. That's what you're eating. So again, that's a whole, and then guess what? That chunk of meat, it's going to be a brisket. I'm making a brisket. Well, yeah, no. It's not just a chunk of cow ass. Like it came from a place, and that thing, you got to worry about its diet and the life that it lived. A cow that's running around, roaming on grass, might not be as tender because it worked its muscles a little bit before you killed it. But like, it's still much healthier. Instead, we've got them trapped in pens where they can't move because we want it tender and juicy. And then I told you, when you and I were kind of fleshing these things out on the phone, I was shocked to learn that you didn't know this. And I don't think many people do, but there are laws preventing workers or people on site of these places taking pictures of the butcher process or the life conditions of these animals. So if somebody's walking through there and they're, and again, whether they're trespassing or they were just an invitee that they're walking through the factory, if somebody feels compelled, like, oh my God, the treatment of this cow or the way they're killing it is totally inhumane and messed up. The public needs to see this. Or the bigger one, pictures on the screen here. If you could see the food they're feeding these animals, we're talking all the expired bags of Doritos and bags of bread and all the trash they just put in a pile with the plastic, and they're grinding it up into powder and they're feeding them that. So that's what your food's eating. That's the life your food's living. But I'm just walking up to a refrigerator and I'm just taking the chunk of ass home to make the brisket. So to me, I see the problem, the crisis here is the food itself and how removed we are from the chain. But I love being able to expose myself to a conversation with someone like yourself because it's a two-factor problem. And there's a bigger problem on the horizon that really no one's aware of. And I don't think of it. And that's why we need people like you to point it out, because the reality is the bigger problem is the food shortage that's coming. I mean, the whole war in Ukraine really revolves around a fight over resources. Everybody's desperate for lithium right now. They have all the basic living resources that your oils, your fabrics, they're an epicenter of resources. That's the fight right now because we're desperate for resources. So I think my problem's a bigger, easier fix. We need to start exposing people. We need to eradicate laws like that, protecting us from being ignorant, or protecting us and keeping us ignorant from knowing what these things are going on. So I think we got to eradicate those types of laws. We need to focus on education. Why is every answer to all this education? I think that means that's how dumb we are as a public.
Awareness, right?
Yeah, right. Also, the individual, taking your diet serious. Yeah, Browns are about to lose on another Sunday. You can have a couple Doritos to get through the pain. I get it. I'm with you. But aside from that, make them treats, not the regulatory process of your body. Now, approaching this food shortage. I mean, dude, so much of that is out of our hands. You and I had that conversation. I just want to pose one little story anecdotally to kind of what you read for us. We lost an old world, and that old world was a community that took on this project together. So maybe that is that balance of communism and capitalism that we're talking, that the blue team likes to talk about. Like, maybe we need a little bit more communal trade where we kind of all come into this together. My family just bought this barn. It's this old barn, and through the research we learned in 1911, when this thing was erected, it was an apple farm, but the barn itself had 3 silos, and the silos would hold all the wheat for the whole community, all the people surrounding the area. And what they didn't grow wheat there. No. People at their own home grew their wheat for the year. Wasn't, kind of like a little garden size, your regular wheat, enough for you and your family. And how it would work is you'd come to this barn and you'd give them your 12 pounds of wheat or whatever you grew for the season, and they would store it in the silos with all the other people's wheat. And then throughout the winter, you could come back and go, hey, I'm going to take a half a pound of my wheat. Okay, you had 12, now you're at 11 and a half. And throughout the season, you could it was a community collection. You didn't have to own a barn to be able to have wheat. And there was this understanding that, like, all right, we'll all take care of ourselves, but we're all in this together. And that's where we need to get back to. I'm so eager for the days where me and I keep telling my uncle, once I'm on my own payroll, my own house, the whole thing, me and you every spring are going to buy a buffalo. You get a giant meat freezer, and now you've got your meat for the season. That thing ate grass. It roamed. It's pure meat. It's going to be your body will thank you for that fuel. You'll feel the difference, and it's cheaper and it's healthier. So I think you nailed it. We need to start getting back to the communal approach, but it's taking that step. It can't be the talk of, well, in 1911, we had this barn. It's like, no, buddy, make the barn come to fruition again. We need those things back. So make it happen. So we need action. And that's where I think we need to start.
No, I agree, and I like the fact that you brought up the wheat silo, because that's a perfect example, real world scenario of what we used to do that we forgot about. And at the same time, isn't it interesting how there are people out there like yourself that are aware of how messed up the food chain is and the quality of food, and now we're in this situation where we need to come together, and the fact that, or the process of us coming together and creating something like a victory garden or a communal garden or barn, by default, your health will be better because it's more localized and your eyes are on the process just because you're part of it. And it's so close to home, literally. So I guess it's as a double whammy. It solves 2 things at once. You have more control of what you're eating at a better price, and the process it went through before it hits the plate, right? Garden to table type of thing. And imagine the restaurants in your community, they're going to be getting local food, and it's not going to have to be on the menu saying local this, local that. You already know it's Jim Bobby, is that Italian restaurant, the Italian guy and his grandmother's recipe, and they used the communal farm, and they have buffalo burgers there, and you know the name of. No, I'm just kidding. You don't name your animals that you're gonna slaughter later.
If you have a heart.
Yeah. You know they do, and you know, like, what would you do if you went to a farm and you're like, I want that one, and you're like, Jimmy? No,
Dude,
I
we
don't
were
want it because I
talking
don't want
about
a
that.
Jimmy.
So we're talking about that barn, right? And we're showing there's a friend of mine that owns like one of the most poppin' restaurants in town. And we're trying to get him to open up a bourbon bar in this barn. And we were laughing because it's got this huge like grass area in the back. Again, it used to grow apples and such, whatever. We were like, just imagine you could have the cows out there and you just like, I want that steak. That would be disgusting. You'd be a cruel human. I mean, there is like I don't know, empathetic side to like, I have a heart. I'm eating, but let's go down the spiritual route. I think back to being removed and you're just getting balls of meat out of a window. Like there was a layer of respect when like a Native American had to thank this deer for feeding the family. I mean, there's an appreciation that makes it taste better. I mean, the whole process, living it through in its entirety, makes it more fulfilling and has the better outcome. So, I want to sit here and go, well, I don't want to know about it because it breaks my heart and I have a heart and I don't, but also at the same time, like it is life and there's a layer of respect. And when it comes from this place of respect, it could be easier to digest. No, that's not the way to put it. It could be easier to handle. I was going to say digest. You don't want that metaphor. But it could be, easier to palate if it's coming from this place of respect and not of a place of malicious Jeffrey Dahmer killing raccoons just for the fun of it type of thing, right? You fed my family for the year and it was a necessity, or else, we don't survive, or we have giant man boobs because we're eating Doritos. Like, sorry, buddy. The cosmetics, we're falling on the sword for this one, Mr. Buffalo.
I wouldn't be surprised in the near future they have bras for men. I would not be surprised. If we keep going this direction, I can totally see going to a store and there's like a smaller men's section. And it's like, what size are you, bro? I'm like, no, like, imagine. Oh, sorry.
That is where we go. That is where this heads.
Yeah. So
because again, like skirts, those aren't just for women now. It's 2023. So like, neither are bras.
Almond milk. Slow down with the almond milk, dudes. Slow down with the almond milk. It messes with your hormones.
But it's healthy. It's nuts, and it didn't come from a cow.
Nuts for nuts. That'll be cool to grow out. That'll be awesome if you can grow your own. I have to word this correct. Your own nuts, like, like like walnuts,
roasted.
And then be a nut farmer. Hey, that'll be really cool. But I feel like the cool part is when you bring things locally, you're more involved, you're more educated by default, and you'll make better decisions. And who knows, maybe there'll be more vegetarians, or you'll just eat meat less because you know that it has a name, or exactly where it came from. And there's just something about if you're coming home from work and you're passing by the meadows and you see all these animals and you're like, man, I know that those animals are going to be processed in that factory right there. And then like you see the process on the way coming home, right? And you're just be more mindful and be more thankful. And when you're more, and I believe, and science has proven this, that when you appreciate and you're thankful for the things that you digest, or just in general, it literally changes the molecular structure of the food for you to better digest it too. So I see that is a blessing in disguise. But my big solution would be, hey, whether you want to call it Victory Garden or homesteading or just a community thing, that can solve so many things just from talking out loud right here. I didn't think of it like that until we actually spoke about it out loud.
So in conclusion, let me get this straight. I just want to get it accurate. So what you're saying is you should go out and make your own nut farm, but when you do, just don't go the extra step of making nut milk, right?
Interesting. Again, with that stuff, we can go on a whole tangent with that.
I was just making a joke. Making a joke. But yeah, we need to be more aware of where our food comes from, and we need to take these things more serious. The Doritos are a chemical, trick that it's pulling on your brain, and that's why you can't put them down, and that's why you can't get full on them. So know the games they're playing, and once you kind of know the landscape of the game, you could be better apt to play it. So, Jon, I appreciate your perspective. I think this was a great dialogue. Guys, if we made you laugh and we made you think, the best thing you could do to support this show is share that link. If you liked it, that means someone else definitely would. So send it around, get it on your Facebook, plaster it all over. Otherwise, hit that subscribe button and dingle the bell. And you can catch all of our content at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. Jon, where can they find you?
Growing some nut milk. That's where you can find me, in the backyard.
I'll be right behind them.
Newagehuman.com. I'm on Rumble, YouTube, Instagram as Jon Astacio, and a growing platform or a growing list of other platforms.
Awesome. Catch me out at Grgat57. Otherwise, guys, we'll catch you out on the next episode. See you next Thursday. Peace.
See ya.